Thank you so much. I think I'm going to give you 7 points there for trying to pronounce it right. You almost got it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues, from where you are reporting live all over the world. Just as the speaker has mentioned, the moderator has mentioned, my name is Nthabiseng Mogashoa, a very outspoken young lady, but not only outspoken as well, but I'm quite loud. And I think it's one of the reasons why the young people of South Africa and other parts of the province particularly said that I'm a good representation of other young people, because I'm able to speak about issues that people don't want to speak about, this controversial and taboo issues that people don't want to speak about. Initially, I wanted to start off with a song just to get the mood so that people understand that young people are here in the space to take up space. But since we are given 7 minutes, then I need to be very careful in terms of how I use my time. But the song that I wanted to speak of, I wanted to sing out, was just a song about condomizing, and it's a song that's really pushing on the ground, and with some of the movements that I've been involved with, particularly the hashtag Because movement. It's a song that resonates to young people. When we go to young people and say to them condomizer, which basically translates to condomize, one round, one condom. Now this is something that stays, because I'm one person who believes that whatever that you say has to resonate with the person that you are saying. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to quickly share my screen. I just hope that technology also doesn't get okay. I don't know if my screen is sharing or okay, I think that all right. Just a few minutes, colleagues. And that should do. Okay. Yes. Now I want those colleagues to start over. Yes. I want us colleagues to start over at the beginning of things. I'm one person who truly believes that before we can unpack any situation, it's important that we start off at the beginning of things. We live in a country, more especially as a young person myself who comes from the Republic of South Africa. It's a beautiful country in which the sexual reproductive health and rights are enshrined in the section of this 27 of the Constitution. And now in as much as majority of young people are not aware that there is this particular policy that states that everyone has the right to access to healthcare services, including reproductive health care, it's very important. We need to break it up in 3 categories. We need to look at it in terms of communities. We need to look at it in terms of schools. We also need to look at it in terms of workplaces. And why do I say this? I say this because we need to understand that we do not live in a world that's divided, but everything is intertwined. Because the young people that we find in communities are the young people that are students or other learners that we find in school, in which we need to interact and also make sure that we educate and inform as much as we can. But also we look at the workplaces. Now these are places where you find that the young adults are working, but these are the very young adults that are going to go back home to engage with these young people. Hence, I am saying that everything is interlinked. We need to look at equity, we need to look at cohesion, we need to look at unification, but also we need to look at integration and also the right-based approaches as well as quality. And what do I mean by that, colleagues? In everything that we're going to deliver for young people, we need to make sure that it is of equality, but not only of quality, but of equity as well. Because we find communities that are able to access sexual reproductive services, but other communities are not able to access them. And my question is, with the movements that I'm doing, is that if other communities can actually access but others can't, then that simply means that we are not doing our work. If there is no unification, if there is no integration, integration, then it simply means that we are not using the rights-based approaches, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the youth are often seen as beneficiaries of the government programs. They're often not seen as experts in their own right. And this is a problem because young people need to be seen as experts in their own right. And why do I say that? I say that because young people live in a dramatically different circumstances to their parents. They are the real experts on what is happening today. To get the youth more involved, they must be given more space instead of now having to fight for their place at the table. And now we look at this simply because after the COVID era, we've realized how much toll, or rather how much work still needs to be done when it comes to the services and also when it comes to the policies of the SRHR, and most importantly, the youth participation in that. Now, it's very important that we understand that young people have what we call the skin in the game. They are thinking about how they can serve the next generation. They engage with policies differently to older people because they have more to lose if things go wrong. And this is something that a lot of communities and a lot of movements do not take consideration of. Young people have a fundamental human right to participate in matters that affect their lives. Very important. Now, when we speak of participation, I speak about participation with emphasis because it is one of the things that we need to harness and make sure that we also make sure that we prioritize in the post-COVID era. Participation has to be a way for young people to access services and also benefit directly from these programs. But also it goes back to what I spoke about earlier, colleagues. I spoke about equity and I also spoke about quality, that if there's going to be participation to access the services, then there has to be quality. And it is up to us as young leaders to make sure that happens. Participation is also a way to influence changes in organization structures and also youth friendliness. So this means in everything that we're going to deliver with the youth, it's very important that young people are able to influence the changes. But also with participation, we look at the key component, which is to achieve program objectives which direct the effects on both young people themselves and also institutions. Speaking about this, there is currently a project, because we're speaking about linkage and integration. There's currently a project called Common Good Project, which is a project that goes out to young people. Not only does it provide employment, but it also provides skills to young people to be able to advocate for their rights and also to be informed and educated about their rights. Now, this is the kind of participation we are speaking about, as we offer unemployment to young people, but we also offer them the skills to be able to maneuver and penetrate through the field that we are working with. We know that accessing the SRHR information and services, it does not grant a license to young people to engage in early sexual activity. Instead, we need to understand that it is an effort to build the capacity of young people, but also to avail them, ladies and gentlemen, to avail them to the necessary tools to make responsible decisions. The language of rights in SRHR is still a controversial issue in South Africa. So this means that it is undermined. It undermines the policies and programs, and it is also critical to enable organizations to work in remote and also improvised areas in order to collaborate with each other and to share these lessons. And that is why I'm saying it's important, and I'm really honored to be in this space, because we get to learn in this space and we also get to assist each other in terms of the organizations that we are working with on the ground. If you look at it, it goes to show that other people might be actually going through this, what we are going through. I always say, let us look at the theory of change, because after this webinar, the most important question is where to from now. We need to look at the outcome, we need to look at the output, and most importantly, we need to look at the impact. When we look at the outcome, now these are the things organizations, or rather, these are the decisions that will be made after what we have done. And now at the output, what we are looking into, we are looking at what we need to put in as young people. What are some of the structures that are existing, and what are the structures that can actually be made? And the impact has to be achieving the policies, or rather achieving the agenda that we've always wanted to change. Now, with that being said, there has to be a transformation of the new era. And now this has to be my favorite part, because I am a young person who is in media. I am using media as a tool to drive the change that I want to see, because I've come to understand that with media, more especially during the COVID-19 era, with media, we are able to change the direction. We are able to influence perspectives. We are able to change how people feel about certain things. And that is why youth participation in such spaces, it's very critical, because we are able to give information, and when information is accessed, then that is where we find what we call the adventure of the evolution of consciousness. Very important. And with that being currently said, a movement that I'm working with currently started a youth online radio that tackles SRHR issues, having young people being part of the radio, which is a milestone in what we want to do. Ladies and gentlemen, if we want our youth to grow up in a safe, healthy, and ready to succeed, then all the youth need the knowledge and also the skills to make healthy decisions about sexual health. And for them to do this, we need to make sure that we work in unity as opposed to divisions. We need to collaborate, because the policy says one thing, but also the marginalized groups say it remains a challenge to access sexual health services. But now my question is, what does the future say? The webinar needs to allow us the space to understand what is it that we are building ourselves into. In as much as we have multiple driving forces that influence, such as the socio-economic status, your rural residents, and also your women living in poor socio-economic conditions. More especially in South Africa, we do say this, but it's important that we change the attitudes that are embedded in these political structures and also the socio-cultural expenditure. Ladies and gentlemen, just before I wrap up, it's very important that we have a way forward indication. Just as I said, for me, this webinar is a building base of what could be done, of the greater things that could be done to serve our nation and also to serve our world. It's very important. Planning is required to ensure that we have, to ensure access to abortion services. Also, it is required to have communication services, understanding which public health facilities offer the services, so that we are able to answer to the call of agents, to be able to answer to the call of agents of young people. The pandemic has presented an opportunity to make itself a self-managed abortions, and now a key also to sustained part of abortion services, but also a provision in South Africa. It's very important that we all chip in as young people. It's very important that we all take up a stand and understand the importance of how we can, and also understand the power that we carry in terms of moving what we are doing. I believe, in closing, I believe that young people are the voices of the future, and we need to include young people in everything that we do. And if we use media, if we use film as well, if we use platforms and also spaces where young people are, then that is a way in which we can tackle them. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 has proved to us that we can use the advancement of technology to change and also to implement the change that we want to see. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward that we hold hands together and we work towards a world in which young people are able to collaborate in it, and young people are able to be the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you so much.